So it was able to, I kind of just let it go and autonomously verify itself. And I said, only show me the bugs that you were able to prove are real bugs. And it came back with a few. And that was my like, holy shit moment.
Okay. Welcome to AI Security Brief, where we're unpacking emerging AI threats, vulnerability research, and the strategic decisions security leaders are making right now. I'm Johnny Hand.
And I'm Dustin Childs. I was recently at Pwn2Own Berlin, where we awarded nearly $1.3 million for 47 unique zero days. And it was great to see all of the researchers there and who was using AI and who wasn't. So I was able to record this podcast with one of the researchers who did use AI to win a couple of the entries, and I found it just a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, Pwn2Own sounded like a blast, and I was certainly following all of the social media posts, especially from the winners. So you got to sit down with Chompie, who's a vulnerability researcher and exploit developer who walked away from this competition with 2 successful entries and over $70,000. Is that right? So what did you talk about?
Yeah, that's correct. So everyone's arguing whether or not Agentic AI is about to unleash a vulnpocalypse on us. So I went straight to someone who's actually using Agentic AI to win at Pwn2Own. Chompie used Claude Code to help land an NVIDIA Container Toolkit exploit on day 1. And this wasn't a prompt that said, find me a zero day, and she walked away. She goes through how she had to train the AI based on her own skills and experience and how it needed to learn what success actually looked like.
Wow, that's incredible. I can't wait to hear how she pulled it off.
So you've been at this for a while. I know your career goes back a little bit. When did you first get started in vulnerability research?
So I've been doing like security research, I would call it, I guess since, I started like learning it in 2017.
Okay.
And then I shifted to like VR exploit development, like officially around in 2020 during COVID lockdown, actually. Nothing to do except stay home and learn how to hack.
That's awesome. So obviously we're here at Pwn2Own Berlin 2026. As we record this, you've had 2 successful entries, winning $70,000. So congratulations for that. I want to start by talking about your entry in the NV Container Toolkit, because that was, first of all, it was day 1, so it was great to see, and it was the first one that we saw. But then you tweeted later that you had a subscription for a month of Claude Code Max, and that was a pretty good investment. Talk to me about how you used Agentic AI to help you find this bug, or what you did with Claude Code Max. How did it help?
Yeah. That tweet got some people up in arms, but it wasn't just that I had like typed into Claude Claude, find me O'Day, make no mistake.
Right.
But it also wasn't that complex either. So I had been playing around with AI for a little bit, but not Claude Code in particular, and not like the Opus 4.6 that came out, I think, at the end of February, kind of marked a big shift in at least public frontier model capability.
Right.
And so I was kind of curious about that. And as kind of an experiment, I decided to point it to a code base that I knew pretty well. I mean, it's a huge code base.
Right.
There's a lot of attack surface there.
Yeah.
I had looked at it before, and I knew that it certainly had some problems. So I kind of had that spidey sense about it. And I had seen like some of my peers and have some success with Claude Code. So I said, why not? Actually, I started out with testing its exploitation skills.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of discourse on, whether AI could, autonomously generate exploits.
Right.
So I put it to the test. I tried to have it write an exploit for a bug that I had an exploit for, but not anything public.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a tough bug to exploit, a race condition, your favorite.
Yes, my favorite, race conditions.
Yeah. And I thought, like, well, if we're really cooked, then it'll be able to do that.
Okay.
So I kind of just unleashed it on that, and it failed pretty miserably. It didn't do well. Like, I think that if I decided to not help it at all, just to see what it could do on its own. And I was pretty impressed on how far it got by itself, but it didn't make it. And the next thing I decided to do was have it do some VR against a code base that I knew probably had vulnerabilities. And so what I did was kind of what I had seen other people say they did, which is, generate skills that kind of mirror my own process and vulnerability research. So I kind of had like distinct skills for different bug classes. And I said, this is how you should look for this type of bug class. And these are the patterns that you should look for. And pointed it at the code base and just looked at what it brought back. And it kind of had mixed results. But once I started setting it up with some way to some oracle and some way for it to check itself, that's when I really saw a big return. So it was able to, I kind of just let it go and autonomously verify itself. And I said, only show me the bugs that you were able to prove are real bugs. And it came back with a few. And that was my holy shit moment.
So there's been a lot of talk publicly about agentic AI finding vulnerabilities in the vulnerabilities. You clearly used agentic AI to assist in finding a vulnerability. But do you think we are on the edge of a vulnerability?
I don't know. I mean, what would you classify as vulnerability? Certainly, I think it's outpacing the ability for vendors to patch.
Okay.
I think that we'll probably see some issues with patch gapping. So that's kind of an area where I like to thrive. Our team supports our adversary simulation team.
Okay.
And so sometimes what we like to do is patch gap end-day exploits. So taking advantage of the time when a vulnerability is known or publicly disclosed, and a company will apply those patches. And so I would expect that time to get a little larger.
Yes.
Because of that backlog. That can be bad if your security posture is not good. So yes, I would expect to see some companies get burnt. But I mean, just because that's not going to generate new vulnerabilities in itself.
Okay. Well, let's get back to Pwn2Own for a minute, because you had a second success in Red Hat using a privilege escalation. And again, I'm going to go to your Twitter because you said Claude tried to gaslight you, saying he was unexploitable. So walk us through that.
Yes, Claude did tell me that it was not exploitable. Or sorry, the term was not exploitable in practice. And you know what? Claude did kind of have a point. It was a tricky one to exploit. I'm going to defend myself here because I did I did need the second attempt. But in my defense, the reason why Claude said that was because it was a very, very small race window.
Okay.
So about 13 instructions between, and so within those 13 instructions, you have to it's a use after freeze. So you have to reallocate the vulnerable object and also do a spray. And the spray also had to be cross cache. So that needs more than 13 instructions worth of CPU time to do. But Claude didn't really know all of the tricks for race window widening. I think that's why Claude said that, but it did seem pretty tricky. And I kind of set that bug aside for a little bit and tried to find a better one. That was probably the smart thing to do. But there was something that just kept nagging me, and I was like, you know what? I bet I could pull this off. And I did.
Yes, you did. So back to the question on research is
Yeah.
how do you approach something, and is it different if you're using agentic AI versus not?
Yeah, no, I think the the process is still like at least my process is still similar. Like I've always liked to look at multiple targets, multiple attack surfaces. I guess like there's people that specialize in one type of target, and they know, and it's a really complex target, and they know that target really well. I like to kind of jump around and look at different types of things, and when I'm deciding on what to research, I use what I call like spidey sense, and attack surface selection. So types of things that I'll look for is like complexity in a code base. It might also be, I'll look at previous vulnerabilities that have been reported in that code base to try to get a sense of like what could go wrong here. And then maybe look for similar attack surfaces that might have those properties, or look for variants of those same things, or look for like variants of that type of bug class, but in maybe a separate like analogous attack surface, or like a different class or something. But usually like they'll have, those properties of like, complex, like a lot of like accessible attack surface.
So I've heard a lot of people say that there's a big difference between someone like you, who's obviously a skilled, experienced researcher using agentic AI, versus a complete newbie who just says, "Find me O'Day." Is that something you agree with? Is that something you've witnessed?
Not yet,
Okay.
but I do think that it is lowering the bar, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think we've seen that as well, and I think our first podcast talked about that with Bob McCardle and Vibe Crime. I still consider this to be the beginning of the AI security time period. And I go back, and my experience is a little bit longer than yours, which just means I'm older. But I look back at certain things and kind of laugh at how we were in that time period. Do you see anything right now that we're going to look back years from now and kind of laugh at that we thought that it was important, or that we totally missed that? In other words, what are we missing in AI security right now? Or where do you think that we might kind of laugh at ourselves in the future?
Yeah, I think the worry about agentic AI in terms of security, I think the way that people talk about it is almost as if like AI is going to generate like ODAs that don't exist. I do think that there is like, the amount of vulnerabilities that are uncovered with AI is asymptotic. So like, of course it depends on the target. There's also, a lot of focus now on harnessing. And there's a debate on whether harnessing is going to matter once an AI is powerful enough. And then I think that, some startups and some people have gotten burned by investing so much in like a harnessing, only to kind of get obsoleted by, Anthropic's new product.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's hard to distinguish like what is hype and marketing and what's reality. I do definitely think that we are in like at the precipice of a totally new era.
Okay.
It's going to be different. I mean, like I realized this during that, first month of Claude Code Max, where I was like, it would have taken me much longer from start to finish had I not had it. And so I do think that is going to have a lot of implications. Somebody like made a joke to me today about like if I would consider a career in like AI goal coach or something.
Yeah.
And I laughed at that, but I think like my job is becoming more and more kind of that, right?
Okay.
I think that most people will, will have to use some sort of like AI assistance to keep up. And I think that's right now, it's a really kind of a sweet spot
Okay.
where if you have security research experience, your productivity can, multiply itself many times.
Right.
And I've been having a lot of fun. Like it's almost like when I first started hacking.
Yes.
And I hope that it continues feeling that way. But I know everybody's a little bit nervous.
Yes.
I think we're all a little on edge because nobody knows what the capabilities are going to be 2 or 3 years from now. I think I got quoted on the record when I spoke at Echo Party last year in October 2025. And Federico, who runs Echo Party, asked me also on a podcast if honest, like AGI exploitation, was it on the horizon? And I said, not for at least 5 years.
Okay.
And then obviously since then, a lot has changed. And he kind of joked and he said, like, do you still think we have 5 years? I said, well, we're still not there yet. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's like 2. I don't think anybody really knows, but certainly the capability, like the progression of the models definitely has outpaced way more than anyone expected.
Right. So one final question, because we're kind of pushing on time here, and I want to be conscious of your time too, but this one is a really open-ended one and really big picture. So you're in charge of the world, and you could get one commitment from every developer, so every AI developer industry-wide. What would that commitment be?
Oh gosh, that's a hard question. What's your answer? Do you have one?
Do no evil. I go back to that.
Yeah.
It's kind of, that would be my answer is make sure you're using this for the good of mankind, because I can't get them to commit on anything else.
On that note, yeah. I mean, I'll maybe just copy your answer and edit it a little bit and say, like, yeah, I mean, focus the progress on improving humanity and life for humans. Overall, like, I think when people react or people's negative reaction about AI, I think is rooted in fear. Fear that it's going to eventually just make life worse for them.
Right.
And I think that we could all evolve as a human race if we collectively decide that, this huge innovation in technology, we can use it to improve all of our lives.
Right. Well, Chompie, thank you so much for your time. It was great seeing you again. You always bring great research to Pwn2Own, and I wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wow, Dustin, that was a phenomenal interview. And I love that a skilled researcher plus Agentic AI can be an actual force multiplier. And there was nuance to the way that she showed AI failed badly when it was asked to autonomously exploit a hard race condition on its own, but then it excelled once it had the right skills to check itself.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is agentic AI isn't conjuring vulnerabilities out of thin air. And Chompie really showed that you take a skilled researcher with this, and it really lowers the bar, and it multiplies the productivity of researchers who already know what they're doing. But if you're an unskilled researcher, we used to call you a script kiddie. These days, we just call you a Claude cadet.
I love that. We're going to have to coin the Claude cadet. for all of our listeners. One of the key takeaways I want for our security leaders to think about is, oftentimes most of our negative reactions to AI are actually rooted in fear of AI replacing humans. And as Chompie showed, the model didn't replace her. It multiplied her output. It allowed her to move faster. It allowed her to train the skills needed so that it wouldn't take as long to find the exploits. And that was something that really helped her win those two conditions.
Yeah, and thanks to Chompie for sharing her research with us and her honest takes from the disclosure room. So you can see our show notes on links on how to connect to Chompie. You can also find the links to Pwn2Own results and other resources to help you navigate the vulnerability exposure in the AI era.
And that does it for another episode of AI Security Brief. We want to thank you for joining us. Our goal is to host conversations that get you thinking differently about security. And if it does, please consider subscribing so you don't miss what's next.
AI Security Brief is mixed and produced by Elliot Peltzman with original music by OmniaJinx. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben with content strategy by Mayan Plout and Melanie Gallant. Additional production help by Liz Stokes. Video editing by Sorel Joppi and Bridget Creaky-Wild.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on the AI Security Brief.